What's going on, fam? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Get the Bag podcast, episode 18. We climbing up there.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are.
uh, I'm your host, Gladia Castro. Got my co-host, Tim Park. What's
Hey,
going
fam.
on?
What's
What's
going
going on?
on?
We're gonna have a really good episode today, but just a quick reminder, since this is a live show, please post your questions in the chat. We'd love to answer any one of them. And of course, don't forget to show some love, subscribe to our channel, hit the reminders, like this episode. Of course, it always helps with YouTube's algorithm. But today's episode is a real one. I think we've all been there. It's a serious topic. I think we've all experienced at some point. Maybe we're going through it right now. I don't know. We'll dig a little bit deeper. But I think especially being entrepreneurs, we're, our brains are literally on all day. We're pulled left and right and
Yeah.
can feel trapped, right?
hmm
So we're going to dig a little bit deeper into, what burnout is, what the stats kind of show us, and sort of what's helped us. But I'll keep it real. Like, I think we still face this issue from time to time. I think it's hard to say how to avoid it. I think for
hmm
me personally, I've learned to just look out for signs and just
Yeah.
kind of, plan around that. Not sure, what's worked for you, Tim, because it's real.
Yeah, it's definitely real. I think your body kind of tells you, at least for me, I think
Yeah.
when I push it to a certain point or a certain level where I'm just go, 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 um, you know, things go bad, really. I mean, either your body kind of tells you, or people get sick, or, um, they
Right.
drop the ball on certain tasks. They might be juggling for different, whether it's personal responsibilities or work or, your business. So,
Hmm.
there's something that's going to suffer when you're always going to the full extent of your capabilities, right? So
Right.
I think for me, it's a hard balance because you're trying to achieve, but it goes back to, I think we had a previous episode where we talked about kind of self care and self love and taking the time to do that, because that actually helps with burnout,
Yeah.
in my experience with what I do, because it helps me recharge, refocus, and then I'm ready to go. I've
Yeah.
known people that actually take like 10-minute naps just to refocus for the day, right?
I've
And
heard that too. I've heard
yeah,
I just learned it's called a coffee nap. So
mm,
you either take a shot of coffee or drink a small
mhm,
and then take a nap. And typically caffeine takes about 20 minutes before it like fully kicks in. So
right.
they take a shot of coffee, espresso, take a nap, and then by the time
hmm
they wake up, they wake up refreshed. They have the energy because the caffeine kicks in. I've never heard of that before, but we're not really at least in the America, like we don't
hmm
really. It's always like go go go. It's not
Right.
like you compare it to other countries where
Exactly.
the siestas, right? Like
hmm
that's a very it's kind of part of the culture of
hmm
like taking naps.
Yeah.
And for us, it's like, no, you have to work, you have to do this. So for
Right.
me, I know I do try to think like I tell myself like, yeah, maybe I'll take a nap, but I just never go around to do it.
Yeah, I know the Asian culture is really big on that, or productivity during work. So they might take a
Hmm.
break to do yoga for like 30 minutes, or, do something active where they're walking even on the roof of the building or something like
Oh
that.
wow.
So I know that um, my time in the corporate world when I worked for tech, uh, many of you don't know, but I worked for eHarmony for a while, and they had a couple rooms just for that. They had nap rooms, right? So
Hmm.
they had these sophisticated pods that would be pitch black, and you would go in there, set the timer, and then you would take a little nap. That was the first time ever it was okay for me to work and have and take a nap, right?
Right, right.
Right.
That's how
So,
they suck you in though. They're like, "Hey,
right.
yeah, we got this, this cool room." I think when we cuz my company we're all fully virtual now, but when we had an office, we called it a Zen room.
Mm,
So it was like kind of like dark with it was a dark room with some like really low lights. It had like yoga mats and a couch. And so if you wanted to take a nap, you could. But nobody I think there's maybe a few that did do that. But for me, like I've never kind of set a habit for it. And maybe if I
mhm.
did, that'd be something I would do.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's totally a thing. Like in Europe, like I think Dalen had said in Spain,
Right.
as well, and in other cultures outside of U.S. Because I mean, I think they really value uh, quality time and then rest, right? Because I
Mm,
feel like they can get more productivity from their employees if they gave them some time to recharge or be with family so they can be happy, right? And then when they
right.
come to work, they're, you
They're
know,
happier
they're
employees.
happier, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Because if
it's
you
maybe it's that
go ahead,
capitalism in
yeah,
America.
always trying to get it, try to get that bag, right? Get the bag.
Right.
So,
Get the sleep.
that's right. Um, what's her name?
Y
Was it the the owner of the Huffington Post? I forget her name, the first name.
mm,
Um,
let's look it up.
Adriana or but she's a proponent of like rest and sleep, and she's done a lot of you know, research and studies in regards to that, with you know how dangerous it can be to your health if you keep going and no rest. And I think the reason why she started to do that was because she passed out and hit her head, because
Mm,
she was on the go 24/7 and never took a break. And that's
right,
that's kind of what um, made her think, well, how important is rest and sleep, right? And
right.
not going 24/7 all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, again, be entrepreneurs, like I mentioned earlier, it's like pre-built. Like we think we have to do it all, and there's all these. I've been listening to Grant Cardone's 10x, where it's like you
Mm,
10x everything, right? But
right.
it's not just 10xing your work, it's also 10xing everything. If I want to be an expert in sleep, I'm going to 10x my sleep. So I'm going to, plan that in. And it's that's kind of the way I look at it. Like there is a time, as long as you're using your time efficiently. But a lot
Mhm,
of times people, it takes a little bit longer to understand that. But I
mhm.
was taking a look at some stats in terms of like burnout.
Okay.
And what I was reading is, especially with employees, so, we've all worked a job. I still have a job, but employees who feel unsupported by their managers are 70% more likely to experience burnout. That's 70%.
Mhm.
That's
That's
high.
a huge number.
Yeah. And then employees are 7% more likely to succumb to burnout when faced with unreasonable time restraints. How many times have we been put on like crazy deadlines or like a crazy project that, we have to follow through on, and it's like impossible. That is gonna definitely lead to burnout if you don't
Yeah.
like handle it correctly. And then another stat was employees struggling with burnout are 63% more likely to take a sick day and 23% more likely to visit the ER. That's a pretty high stat right there because if I think that goes to your point in eHarmony, because and this is kind of like our motto at my company: if it's good for you, if it's good for our customer, then it's good, and it's good for our company. So it's like
Mhm,
if I'm not healthy, if I'm not taking care of
mhm.
myself, I'm going to be calling in sick. I'm not going to be able to work
Right,
efficiently. So I
right.
think I don't think it's cost effective to work so hard or work so many hours, because just naturally the way the human body works, like we can't, maybe some people can work, 24 hours, like, you know, do your
I
thing, but
don't know.
like not
Yeah.
for on the right, for a normal person, it's not sustainable. So if you want productive people or productive employees that we hire, or
Mhm.
they need self-care is really important. And that kind of, we
Right.
touched upon that as our kind of first tip, is like listening to
Mhm.
your body. And you
Right.
even mentioned that too. Is like you start feeling where you're like, you get that itch, you're like, ah, it's just,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And, and it's like, I think, and then listen to, your spouse or your friends, or because they're seeing something that you're not seeing,
Mm,
because you're on the go all the time, right? So, so when someone nonchalantly says, "Man, you need to take a beat," or, you need to relax,
chill out.
you chill out, right? Because you're always on the go, you're always busy, you're always doing this, you're always doing that. Maybe, after you that person says that, kind of analyze that in the evening time when you are about to go to sleep. Like, am I going too fast? Or you start asking you questions, and you know, is your body kind of telling you that as well? So
Mm.
just don't discard what people may be saying nonchalantly to you, to saying, "Man, you're always on the go," or
Or you're always
you
grumpy, or like you're
yeah,
always
yeah, your
this. I think
attitude
it's
or whatever.
right. I think it's paying attention to your needs. That's
Mhm.
like the
There
biggest
you go.
thing, is it's part of self-care. But you know yourself better than anybody, right? Like, your
Mhm.
body, like, the certain aches and pains that as we're getting older, and like, that maybe other people don't have. So it's listening. It's if I'm not being productive,
Mhm.
I know if I
Mhm.
don't get at least 7 hours of sleep, I'm not going to be as productive. I'm not going to be able to last longer. Especially juggling like the 9 to 5, and also with the business. I know I'm like, okay, I need to be in bed by 9:30. Like that's my strict schedule, because
Right.
I'm like, if it's anything past, I know it's like I'm going to be screwed, because then it's going to throw
Mhm.
off my day the next day. So it always starts with my nighttime routine. But um, you know, sleeping, meditation, like whatever
Mhm.
kind of little things you can do to take care of yourselves. 'Cause that I think that partly leads to burnout, because you're not considering your needs. You have to consider what's best for you. Look out for those signs from your body. Like, of course, you have your loved ones, or maybe you have a
Mhm.
really close group. Like, pay
Mhm.
attention to what they're saying. Like, hey, you've been a little you a little bit, a little pain in the ass, like recently, like what's going on? Like something's happening. So I think just it's really important to identify those.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I mean, you're gonna lead to burnout, like
Yeah,
quick.
exactly. Exactly. And,
Yeah.
it goes to the next point of, ask yourself, right? Ask yourself, am I happy in this situation? Why am I burnt out? Is it my job, or is it my home, or friends, family,
Mhm.
whatever it is, right? I think you just have to, take some time to kind of analyze that and ask yourself these questions too.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to that stat, right? Like 70% of employees
Hmm.
will experience burnout if they feel unsupported, if they're managers. How many of us have had shitty managers or shitty bosses that don't know what they're doing? We know more than them. And you get pushed so far because you're either doing so much that you're expected to do so much, and it's led to that. So I think it's really important, and that's part of like paying attention to your needs, like asking yourself, like, why am I so tired? Like, am I in a really bad situation? Like, do I hate my
Hmm.
job? Which a lot people probably do.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time for me to find a new, like, take control of that. Don't kind of
Mm.
be the victim. I think that's the biggest thing of like, you're in control. It's your body. Take control of
Yeah.
it. Usually leading to burnout is because you lost control of
Mm.
everything, right?
Right.
So I think it's and I always tell been mentioning it here on the podcast, is I ask myself questions anytime I don't have an answer to something. So it's like, why am I feeling this way? Or why did I say that? Or why am I
Mm.
thinking this? I think it's really important to do that. And I also found more stats as well, like 3 in 5 employees reported negative impacts of work related stress, including lack of interest, motivation, or energy by 26%, lack
Oh
of
wow.
effort at work, 19%. Meanwhile, 36% reported cognitive awareness, so like just wear and tear, just wearing down.
Mm-hmm.
32% reported emotional exhaustion, and an astounding 44% reported physical fatigue, a
Mm.
38 increase since 2019. So
Mm-hmm.
let's not, lose sight that there was a pandemic, a couple years ago,
Yeah.
where, people, maybe some people lost their jobs, maybe some people, for me, I didn't, we kept it going because we had moved
Mm-hmm.
virtual before COVID hit. So
Right.
there was like so much expected. So for us, we were like mentally dealing with this pandemic, but then we also had to work. So I actually like burnt out during the pandemic.
Mm.
And it took me a few months to actually be able to take some time off, but that affects your mental health, and that's something we've talked about too. But these sort of events are going to come and go in your life, so it's, you kind of just have to prepare. And sometimes we don't listen to our awareness, we don't listen to our bodies to tell us like, all right, you got to stop now, or here, like, you should consider this. Sometimes we just disregard it because we think we're better than ourselves. So I think that's a crazy stat,
Yeah.
alone just on that.
And it makes sense too, because I think a lot of employees, need to. I think they feel an obligation because maybe it's a new job, or they've been there for years but never taken a vacation. Because it's crazy to me to have someone work for maybe 5 to 10 years at a business, or a company, and never take a vacation for themselves. They accumulate all this vacation time, but they never take a vacation.
Well, there's
And
a few things for that too, but go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah. So it's like they're go 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 go. They work for the company, and then it turns into resentfulness. It turns
Mm,
into like negativity towards the company, maybe, and they're not getting promoted. All of these things start to snowball,
mm,
and it goes back to questioning. And we had the great resignation, I think, last year, right? Where everybody
mhm,
kind of just quit their jobs. I think in the month of March, really, that was the
mm,
highest. I think 44 million people quit their jobs. Like, it was
mm.
crazy high.
That's crazy.
Now, now companies are hiring. I mean, I think it's 177 jobs open, a million jobs open now, right? So they're hiring more, trying to hire more employees. But I think a lot of people kind of realized during that whole time that this is maybe not the best option for them, emotionally, physically. They need to find something that actually is better for them personally, and passionately, and
Mhm.
healthy. Makes it healthy for them as
Yeah,
well.
I think you bring up a really good point. Like, why do people not take time off? And I mean, I'll go even step deeper in, how is this affected by people of color,
Mm,
by women? That's a big stat. Like, and I can speak personally in my
mm-hmm,
experience and taking time off. I have unlimited PTO, but do I
mm-hmm,
use it on a
mm,
regular basis? No, as I could. I
mm-hmm.
mean, I think that's something that's used by tech companies to like lure people in, like, hey, we have
Sure.
unlimited PTO, but then like, but really you don't. But I think my company does a good job of like saying you at least need to take 20 days off.
Mm-hmm,
Like that's
mm-hmm.
their standard, which is great. And I was like, all right, cool. And I had to like learn, and I think also like stepping into a specific role as a woman of color, for me, I felt uncomfortable taking time off. That's
Mm,
just like that mental scarcity, right? And like
mhm,
like I'm not good enough, or that imposter syndrome, like I'm not good
Mhm.
enough to take time off yet, or I need
Mm.
to be at a certain level to in order, and then I can take time off. Like that was like my experience. But then compared to my like other maybe white counterparts, they're taking PTO left and right. And it's like, why is that? Why do women of color specifically, and other men people of color, like why
Mhm.
do we feel uncomfortable taking time off? Why do we feel like we have to earn our way um to take time off? This stuff is going to lead to burnout. And I
Yeah.
was also trying to look for how burnout affects people of color, because there's so many hoops we have to like go through,
Absolutely.
where I was reading where we maybe work multiple jobs in a single role. That's happened too, where it's like um more people are put through like tougher situations, so they have to
Mhm.
like they have to juggle a lot more compared to like other counterparts, professional advancements. So these are kind of things that will be part of like the tip too, which is asking yourself, am I happy in the situation? Am I treated right? Is that why I'm burning out? Because I have to do the most. um
Mhm.
and I just kind of learned, I like, especially after I had suffered a really bad burnout early on, at the company I'm at, where I was like, you know what, I'm that it's not fair to myself to push myself so
Mhm.
far or think that I have to earn it. I'm going to start taking time off and taking care of myself, and then they'll see like how highly integral I am in this company. And I just learned to put myself first, and that's where I started, like, taking care of myself, working out, that kind of stuff. So I think it's like having that aha moment. But it's real. The burnout is real in a lot of these Black and brown communities. Unfortunately, people are still going through it right now. So
Mhm.
important to understand that, um,
Yeah.
leading
I
into it.
think you bring up a really good point, and I think maybe culturally it's ingrained in us really as people of color that you always you have to go a step above everybody else to prove yourself, and
Mm,
one of those things is be there when nobody else is there, right? Or when you're not, when someone else is taking vacation, that may be your leg up to actually advance into the company. So I
mm,
think a lot of that comes into that kind of hustle, I guess, in within corporation, but also it's a detriment because it could you know get you more, I guess, not in the eyes of the employee. Oh, this guy or woman is a worker bee, right? They will work no matter what. And I
so
think
let me give
some,
him all the
yeah,
tasks and
is all
job,
the
because they're
tasks,
gonna
and
do
then
it.
right, right. They're not a no person, right? And
Mm.
I've seen a lot of people, coworkers or colleagues, say no. I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
right? The power
Oh,
of
yeah.
saying no as an employee, people just like, no, this is not in my job description. If you're going to add more responsibilities, then
You
you're
need
going
to
to
pay
have to
me more.
increase my pay. But a lot of people are scared to say that because they're scared
Yeah.
they might lose their job. But I
That's such a
realize is
good point.
that the employees do have um, some kind of power to where, hey, you're very specific to this job. So you always want to make your job very, unique in a way that when you take a vacation, they know that you're taking a vacation, right?
Right.
Or if they want to let you go, they really have to jump through hoops to let you go, right?
Right.
Because someone that comes in can't really do that job really, always right away. They can't just replace you. And there's some jobs where it's just turnover after turnover after turnover. So I can't say that with a lot of jobs, and there's a lot
Right.
of people that are scared to lose their jobs, so that's why they're pushing out.
Right.
I'm
It's
yeah,
it's
go ahead.
no, no, yeah, I was gonna say it's that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
pre-built almost, and like just I mean the background, like, I feel like in Black and brown communities where we have that scarcity, like we're not good enough,
Mhm.
or we're not valued. um we don't consider ourselves valuable. It takes us some time, where we don't feel we're worthy versus maybe other coworkers. And I remember seeing people saying no, or like, I'm not going to do that. And it's like, dang. And like we look at
Mhm.
it differently. But it's like, but we don't have the courage to say that because we think, well, what's going
Mhm.
to happen, or
Mhm.
or like you mentioned, we're going to lose our job. That's such a good point. And I think it kind of leads into our third tip, which is setting boundaries,
Mhm.
learning to say
Mhm.
no. Like Ngozi says
Mhm.
there, like no has always been for a complete sentence for me, like just no.
Mm. Yeah.
I think boundaries are so key, and I think that's where we think like we have to take everything on. Um, like, yeah, I'll take on that extra task, even though it's not part of my job description.
Mhm.
And then like we do all this work, and then we don't get advancements, and that's
Mhm.
what leads to a lot of people of color to lead with this frustrations, burnout, thinking like they have to do it all because they've allowed it.
Mhm.
You haven't set your boundaries. Once you start saying
Mhm.
boundaries, even if like they fire you for that, like maybe that's probably what you needed.
Yeah.
But you're worthy of anything, of everything. And I think kind of flipping it, like being an employee, even at the moment, I feel like has also, in having this insight, will also make me a better boss or a better business owner because I have
Yeah.
those considerations. Like I want to have happy people as employees in my company because I know I've been there. So I know kind of like what things to look out for. And it was this whole experience that I dealt with, this burnout that was so bad, that I was like, you know what, like I'm they can't pay me what I'm worth. I know that
Mhm.
for a fact, but this is what I'm going to do to take control of this
Mhm.
situation so I don't ever
Mhm.
feel like this again. And sometimes
Yeah.
you have to go through a really tough situation, but you know,
Yeah. And we're talking more of, the employee side, but on yeah, as a business owner, it's a totally different expectation, right? It's
right.
because it's your business and you want it to be successful and you want to, do what your coach says or do what other people are doing, that you think is the best way to handle success, right? And or get to that level of success. And
Mhm.
it's that go mentality as an entrepreneur.
Yep.
And but also aside from that is you having this business allows you the awareness to take care of yourself, right? The freedom to take care of yourself
Right.
because you have the control to say I'm going to take a break on Sundays or I'm going to take a break on Saturday, whatever the case may be, for you to kind of recharge and do something that you enjoy. Um, And don't get me wrong, when I first started the real estate, it was 7 days a week,
Oh,
I mean,
same.
I was maybe sleeping 4 or 5 hours or whatever, but, because I really wanted to learn as fast as I could and try to, lock up a deal as fast as I could.
Mhm.
But I'm sorry, that didn't last very long. That didn't and I'm older, right? I wasn't as young as I was before where I could do that. Like, in college, I mean, there's all-nighters, you're studying, whatever the case may be in school, or it's
Mhm.
all-nighters, you're working multiple jobs,
Right.
but, you know, as I get older, I understand that I have my limits and I can't be as productive as before, and I will not make the calls or I will not, create this certain process. I'll procrastinate a little bit more, right?
Mhm.
So when I rest, I feel recharged. I was like, I'm gonna go at it again, right?
Right.
And be productive. But then, like you're saying, set boundaries for yourself as an entrepreneur. Set those
Right.
boundaries for a relaxed weekend or a relaxed day or a recharge day. you know, do things that get you active maybe in the mornings, like workout, or that helps you recharge and focus and get your day
Right.
started, right?
Absolutely. I think that's a really great point. I think as long people feel like they have to work 7 days a week because maybe they don't have control of their day, they don't have a plan, they don't have routine. I mean, that would maybe be a tip 4, I guess, is create a routine, like have your night
Mhm.
routine, have your morning routine. I've started, every day I write down or the night before I write down my tasks for the following day, kind of time blocking. But I
Mhm.
take it a step further in, there's these, taking kind of like a course right now, breaking down real estate stuff. But part of that is also like writing a daily breakdown.
Mm.
And there's 4 checks. There's like, okay, were you able to do deep work? Were you able to move? Were you able to be creative? And were you able, I forgot what the last one is. I'll have to remember. But a big thing is like creative. We need to
Mm.
allow some space to like just do something that's not like work in front of a screen. Like maybe it's
Mhm.
drawing or doodling. Some people find like
Mhm.
they're able to come up with more ideas when they're more creative.
Mhm.
So I ordered a coloring book so
Oh,
I can
cool.
kind of, because I've learned like, okay, like I need to do more creative stuff. Like, yeah, I can get into deep work. I can read. I could move. I work out. Like that's part of my routine. But I was like, yeah, I guess that is right. Like being more creative, whatever that is, painting, drawing, um, you know, building something. If you have Lego, if you're into Legos or something, like just anything that's balances your brain. It shouldn't all be one sided.
Mhm.
So that's one thing I've started doing too, is like incorporating a more creative routine, where even if it's like 20 minutes where I'm just doing something that kind of releases your brain. You get to think about stuff, maybe different ideas, but you don't have like things on your mind
Mhm.
constantly, or you're not in front of a screen.
Mhm.
So it's that, and that creating that balance in a routine and taking control of like, all right, this is what I'm doing and sticking with it. I think that's what
Mhm.
people do. They get distracted easily. So then they have to work more because they have to catch up because they were on Instagram or whatever. I mean, we've all been guilty of that. Where I'm like, hey, where'd the time go? It's been like 30 minutes. I've been scrolling on a phone this whole time, instead of, working on this specific task. So taking control of your day, creating a routine, I think will really lead to avoiding burnout, because you can even look at your schedule like, oh, okay, yeah, this looks a little busy here. Let me move some things around. And then that's the
Mhm.
luxury, right, of being a business owner,
Yeah.
is having that
Yeah.
flexibility, like you said.
Yeah. I think that you are absolutely right on that, and you have to. It's a hard thing. Burnout is a totally hard thing. One question I did really have for you is, once you do have a burnout, what was your? How did you get out of that? Because I don't think a lot of people talk about that part of it. Is like, we're talking about how to prevent burnout or tips on how to recognize burnout, but when you do have a burnout, what's that look like? And then how do you recover from that?
I take a trip to Mexico, and then no, well, I've had a few burnouts, unfortunately. The um the worst one I had really was like my first, because I guess I didn't recognize burnout before, because I never really had like my profession before I got into tech and everything was
Mhm.
like working with kids. I mean, how can you get burnt out? I mean, I could,
Mm.
if we were dealing with difficult kids, maybe, but it was never to the scale. So it wasn't until I started working at the startup, where again I'm wearing different hats. I have a single role, but maybe I'm wearing different roles on me. So we went through this project, and I did not have any of the support, but I felt like I could do it all, or I had to do it all on my own. We didn't have like the proper systems and setup, so when we released a specific project, it went haywire. Things did not go as planned. Things kind of broke. And, when things go bad, people
Mhm.
aren't happy either way, right? Like you have to
Mhm.
deal with like putting out fires left and right. It was literally every day we were putting out a fire
Mm.
every day. And it was like nonstop. I was working 10 plus hours a day. And I just needed to get to the point where things were going to at least be stable. It wasn't going to be perfect, but stable. But I felt, and maybe being a woman too, and being new to a role, this was like my first introduction to product management.
Mm,
I had imposter syndrome so bad, and I lost confidence after this project because I was like, oh, I failed. It's my fault.
mm,
It really
yeah.
wasn't my fault. It was
Mhm,
more leadership and who didn't, support me. But at the time, I felt it was my fault, and I wasn't happy at all with everything happening, and I felt like, you know, I could have done things differently, and I was not happy at all. It was really, really bad. And so I got to the point where it was stable, and then I was like, I need to take time off. So I did do that. I went to Puerto Vallarta. We took
mm,
a trip, and it had been overdue. Like I needed a vacation. It was like my first full week off, or I think I took 2 weeks off. I really hadn't taken like a full week off from that job, and I had been working there at the time like 2 years. But like, think about that, like 2 years and
mm,
never taking a week off, like, that's
yeah,
crazy in the type of volume of work that you do, and but it's just like, we don't even think about it, right? We think like, "Oh,
mhm,
no, we have to earn our way," and now I'm looking like, "No, I'm taking, like, whatever. If I could take a month off, I would."
mhm,
But I took 2 weeks off. I turned off my Slack, which, we
mm.
communicate through
Oh,
Slack.
yeah.
I turned off my email. I turned off everything. I was like, "I want to completely detach, disconnect." I picked up reading again, like, and there's something about just being out in the sun for me, and like
Mhm,
by a pool, by the ocean. It was just such a nice kind of way to reconnect with my wife, and just kind of be in like a positive and just happy element for me. And those 2 weeks I felt was so needed. I probably could have taken time off. I always say I need a vacation after my vacation because, just need, like, it's that getting back into the swing of work is so difficult sometimes. You need to ease your way. But I just kind of went back to doing things I love. Like I started working out, when I was out in Mexico. I ate really good food. I slept so much better.
mhm.
I read a little bit more. And so I came back a lot more inspired, and then realized, I was
That's
like, oh
awesome.
wow, like I feel so much more confident. I needed this confidence booster, because I had felt so down,
Mhm,
that sometimes you need, only you can pick yourself up, right? Like, you can, other
mhm,
people can help support, but it's all up to you. So I needed to do that for myself. I needed to do self-care for myself. And of course it wasn't the last time after that, but it never got that bad, because I would be
mhm,
like, okay, I'm gonna take some time off. I'm gonna take a Friday, Monday off. Or I'm gonna take Thursday and Friday off, to
mhm,
just not worry about this. And now, sometimes I'll like, okay, well, instead of working two jobs really, or like working my business and my job, let me just
mhm.
work on my business on my days off, because that inspires me.
Right.
It's something I'm building. So those are kind of things that's helped me. I'm curious about you, because I'm sure you've
Yeah.
dealt with plenty of burnouts.
Yeah, I've been a burnout a few times, one in the corporate world, a couple in the corporate world, and then, as a business too, because it just gets overwhelming 'cause, it's not just your job, I think. It's what's going on in your personal life as well,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
can
for
be
sure.
overwhelming because if you're in a position where you are taking care of family members or you're the the one that is responsible to take care of, like, let's say
Mm,
your parents, and you're trying to live your life but also provide for them. I've been in that position, and I really got
yeah.
to the point where it kinda all hit me at once, and I really needed to take a break from them, my parents, 1, 2, the job because I was just so, uh, I think it was a lot of anxiety and a lot of pressure, right,
Yeah.
that had built up, and, um, and then it got to the point where I had completed a project and another project came right after that. And
Right.
I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I needed to take a break or vacation. And I wasn't, you know, deterring my responsibilities to my parents. You know, I was still paying their bills and stuff, but I just needed a beat from talking to them and then
Right.
time away from the job,
Yeah, to set
right?
boundaries.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I'm saying, "Hey, I'm leaving for, 4 days. I'm going out of town and I'm not going to be available, you know, through cell phone because what I've learned from that situation is sometimes we need to digitally unplug.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean only on vacations. That means maybe once a month, once a quarter, every 6 months, whatever you think you can decide to do. I think we need to unplug digitally because we're always programmed to be on our phone from the time that you wake up to the time you go to sleep, which is
Mm.
kind of unhealthy. A lot of people like I'm trying to get to where the point where that's not the first thing I pick up when I wake up.
Right,
I'm
right.
trying to go drink some water. I'm trying to, do my daily routine and then check my phone after that, right? So I think a lot of people rely on their technology to get them through the day, and that's where employers and business owners get trapped into it because they have to answer this email, they have to answer this text, they have to answer this Slack, they have,
Right.
and it's constant, right? And so that's why it's a good idea to digitally unplug sometimes.
I
And
love
but
that.
yeah, and I used to do that at eHarmony a lot because I was on the social media team, so it was 24/7. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
if there was a commercial that ran or some PR event that suggested to the CEO that was doing something, everybody would be talking about it on social media, and then we would have to do damage control or whatever the case may be. So it was constant. It was always constant, and so that's why I learned to digitally unplug from that every. I think I did it every 3 months, where I didn't pick up the phone or I didn't answer emails or I didn't do anything,
Right.
that kind of helped me kind of recharge. And like you said, when you took your vacation, that's exactly what I did. I didn't do anything. I just concentrated on relaxing, focusing on just being alone or just being in the moment, right? And I
Mm.
think a lot of
Mhm.
people, when they're on vacation, they worry about their job still, and they're not in the moment, right? And that goes back to like quality time. We've talked about this too, is that
Mhm.
you have to spend that quality time is being present in
Right.
that vacation or that time off. So that's what's kind of helped me. And I've been really good about knowing when a burnout is about to happen now because I've had so many different
Right, right.
instances, right? And so then I know it's like, okay, Tim, you got to take a beat. So, but it's a lot easier. I have to say, with this real estate business, it's a lot easier to set boundaries and because I have a passion for it. I really love it. So it's hard for me to, turn it off, but I do have to
Right.
set boundaries because I do have a personal life that I want to be able to have quality time with family and friends and everything. So it's just, sometimes it's hard to turn it off because we're always thinking about it, but at the same time, I've already kind of set those boundaries. And then plan your calendar. And another tip, this is kind of what I do, is like try to plan your calendar out for your
Mhm.
vacation so it's
Mm.
already
Mhm.
set,
Right.
right? And you already have that plan of taking that vacation as an entrepreneur. No matter what's going on, you've already, at the beginning of the year, you're already taking this time in summertime, this time right before the holidays, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So you have something to look forward, and you're like, okay, if I get burned out, let me take a couple days, and then I have this vacation too. So you kind
Right.
of can plan that out a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's also staycations are good too. Whatever
Mm,
your body needs, Even if it's like once a month, like I'm taking a Friday off or Friday, Monday,
Mhm.
whatever it is, because it's not sustainable. Yeah, you can go at the speed, but your productivity is the most important. So whatever it is that you need to do, plan ahead. Planning is, you can never go wrong with planning ahead. We talk about this a lot in setting your goals.
Mhm.
Is like, if you're being efficient with your time, like, you shouldn't have the need to burn out, but things of course are going to come up that you can't avoid. So it's just recognizing those signs that we talked about. But I mean, you hit the nail on the head in terms of like anxiety. I still have, well, it's a little bit less now, but like PTSD. If like
Mm.
something, if something comes up, it's like I go straight to like, oh snaps, like what's gonna happen? Or I used to
Mhm.
really bad, not so much anymore, because I was like, you know what, like I don't need this job. Like, I
Right.
really don't.
Right.
I just,
Mhm.
I mean, I love what I do, but I don't need it
Mhm.
necessarily. But before, I used to think like, oh yeah, I do need it. I need the money. And if anytime I heard like there was an issue, I would just like freeze and tense up. I'm like, oh snap, what's going to happen now? Am I going to be blamed for it? And that no longer is the case, because again,
Mhm.
you just kind of learn like your value and what you're worth, and you know what you provide. And like, that's all you need for me. And
Mhm.
just kind of having that confidence to say no, or say
Mhm.
when something is wrong. Like, now I know if I were to be in a similar situation where it was like really bad, where it was like the blaming game, I know like I
Mhm.
need to stand up for myself, because
Mhm.
that's not right. So I think there's many things that lead to burnout. Is just kind of preparing for him. Do the necessary things, plan ahead, plan those vacations, plan those staycations.
Mhm.
Create a routine. Take care of yourselves. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
Is so much burnout leads to anxiety,
it
ongoing
does.
anxiety, especially as an entrepreneur, where you deal with anxieties all the time. What's happening with this deal? Or it's
Mhm.
going to happen, where there's deals that just fall apart, or maybe you're
Mhm.
sued, or it's
Yep.
just going to be nonstop. So you have to really, and it goes back to your mentality. You have to have really strong mentality in terms of like, I'm just going to get through this. And you learn now, like, people get sued all the time. They're just like, oh, whatever. Like, I've
Mhm.
been through it. But maybe, people who are starting out may be more freaked out. Right. Right.
Right, right.
So you're always going to deal with issues. Fires are always going to come up. So I've kind of learned to have expectations for whatever. I don't have any expectations for anything that comes to me. I'm just going to allow it to come to me, and it is what it is. Because that's kind of helped me to mentally, um, and just handle it as it comes. Like, things are going to happen. So how am I going to
Mhm.
deal with it?
Yeah. And I think anxiety is a really big one too, because it all this burnout, you know, it stems from something, right? So it stems from ongoing activity of the same routine over and over again, and then new projects that come up, and anxiety that you're going to finish it on time, and deadlines, and then you go into the personal, like, am, finances, am I making enough money? Or like
Mhm.
for you, you said, I don't really need this job, but you're setting boundaries already for your job and saying, hey, I can get to it on, and you're going to finish the project no matter what, right?
Right.
That's number one. But it's on your terms. It's not on their terms, right?
Right.
Because you're focused on your health. You're focused on not being anxious as much, because you know what that leads to in the future. And
Right.
I think that's key when you kind of understand yourself and understand what causes your anxiety, and you kind of, going back to what you said, taking control of yourself, right? And
Mhm.
I think there's big power in taking control of yourself and understanding how you're going to maybe relieve the burnout or prevent the burnout in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And there's nothing wrong too with one other tip was like, like getting therapy. People always
Mm,
think like getting a therapist, or just somebody to talk to, you have to go to somebody when you're in trouble or when it's gone so bad. Like I think that is one of my goals this quarter is to talk to a therapist,
Mhm.
just to like just talk because we all have. And I just finished this book, calling I forgot like what it's called, something about your shadows. Like everyone has a shadow, a dark side, a light side,
Mhm.
and we always like focus in on the light side
Mhm.
and ignore our dark side. But there's a shadow behind us if we don't embrace it. So I've
Sure.
like kind of learned to embrace who I am, like in everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. So speaking to a therapist has always been something I've wanted to do, to just speak to somebody who doesn't know me at all, but who I feel comfortable with.
Mhm.
I know people do like marriage counseling, which is really, I think, really important too. I've learned you don't have to
Mhm.
go to a marriage counselor when things go bad. Like,
No,
I think
no,
it's
yeah.
healthy to talk about things. I think getting comfortable talking about your things that are uncomfortable. I think
Mhm.
us getting to that point, right? We always feel like we have to shy away from certain things because they're sensitive or whatever. And of course, like, whatever you respect. But I think the mental capacity of that is finding help. Like if you don't have
Mhm.
friends or family that you trust or that you can talk to, like find a therapist.
Right.
There's way different options, affordable options, that you can find somebody to just talk to if it's like once a month or once every
Mhm.
other month. That
Mhm.
goes a long way, I think, in like your mental capacity,
Mhm.
avoiding burnouts, because then you'll get a different perspective. I
Yeah.
think that's the whole
Yeah.
merit of it.
No, I totally agree. I mean, finding someone that you can talk to and seeking that, and like you said, it doesn't have to be because of something happened that was bad. It can just
Right.
be you need someone to talk to, and they're a professional and they know, and they give you some insight that you might not have thought of, or your friends or family have not thought of when you had that same conversation with them, right?
Right.
They come from a totally different perspective, and sometimes that's an aha moment, or sometimes that's questioning how you do things, or how you would take a different approach on a certain situation, whether at work or personal. So that's
Mm.
what I love about that, because you kind of reflect back on yourself and how you can be better, as a person, or in your profession, or in your business. And it just helps all around, because once you talk about it, there's a certain kind of, I guess, pressure or relief after you kind of release that, you know.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's kind of the power of talking to maybe a therapist or someone in that profession.
Yeah, definitely. And it's we're all about improving ourselves. Like we're not
Hmm.
perfect. And like I said, we deal with burnout even now, but it's we just try to avoid it, or not necessarily avoid it, but just try to learn ways to navigate around it, where it's like, okay, maybe we'll get a little burnout. All right, let me take a weekend off, or I
Hmm.
unplug. So it's not as easy, of course, and I don't think we came off that way, but it's just a work in progress, like we all are. We're all
Always,
trying to
yeah.
get better, just be better, friends, wife,
Hmm.
husband, brother, sister. We're all just trying to be better. But I hope that the tips that we shared with you guys was really helpful, and you
Hmm.
guys kind of take it into action. Don't just it's one thing to listen to us. I'm sure we're
Right.
great to listen to, but take some action. Like do some research. I've also learned that's helped me too. Is learning more about it, embracing it. So some things that we're kind of scared of, like if we're scared of burning out, like let me learn more about it. Let me become an
Hmm.
expert in this topic, and know like when it's coming, and what I can do to help.
Yeah, and that's 100%. And I think, leaving you guys with all these tips and like not taking action is, that's something that you'll fall into a burnout, and you're not learning from that. And each kind of burnout is different, and different levels
Yeah.
of burnout. So, one maybe not prevent the other type of thing. So you just got to constantly kind of learn and grow, and try to at least be aware of and once you're aware of, you can come out of that burnout pretty fast. In my experience, I guess.
Right, right. Yeah,
So
love that. Cool. Well, another really great episode. This was really,
yeah,
really awesome to talk about and just be vulnerable. Hope you guys got a lot out of it.
yeah,
Don't forget, like, subscribe,
yes,
share, follow us on Instagram at Real Estate Gladia, at Mr. Tim REI. Follow us our Get the Bag podcast on
mm-hmm,
IG. It's get underscore the bag podcast. Yeah, follow us every Wednesday. We have another amazing topic next week.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Anything
talking.
you want to leave, Tim?
Yeah. So we're gonna be talking about multifamily a little bit, and we've kind of started that journey together, Gladia
Hmm.
and I, and we kind of want to share, some of our findings and some of the deals that we've been trying to make offers on and everything. So we'll just kind of walk you through our process and just kind of open that door so you can see how we're getting into multifamily. And I think it's going to be another great episode. This was an amazing episode. We appreciate all of you for listening and watching the live podcast, and we appreciate you. So you guys have a great week, and we'll see
Yeah.
you next week. All right.
Next week. Hey, don't forget to take your vacations, y'all.
So yeah, vacations. Take that
All
break.
right, fam.